lovely crowd because I just adored the way. I have conducted several conversations with several celebrities, but I have never encountered where immediately everybody just got up and clapped. That was very, very nice. Before I introduce Ram Gopal Verma to you, I have to tell you that about every person, you have a favorite story. So my favorite story may be of interest particularly to my members of the media. In 1995, before Rangila was about to be released, actually we didn't know that Rangila was going to be released as yet. I was a part of the censor board. So from my magazine, I arrived to see the movie and we were told that there's a movie called Rangila. And we said, okay, quite bored we had to see the movie. When the movie started and when Urmila started singing the first song, Aire, whatever, there was a socialite next to me and she said, who is this bird? I said, she's not a bird, she's Urmila Matondkar. In the interval, there was a very senior member from the film fraternity who's a part of the association, probably a head at that time. And he said, I think the movie is going to get A because of the costumes. And he also said that actually the undergarments can be seen. So very gently I interrupted and I said, you know, sir, it is not what you think. It is called bicycle shorts which young girls wear beneath their dresses, very gently. When the film ended, everybody was in love with the movie. And it was particularly refreshing because we knew nothing about the movie, the filmmaker, there was no publicity as yet done for it. But there were discussions. And finally, after the committee finishes the discussions, we call the filmmaker to tell him what we are giving him, A, U or UA. And in walked Ram Gopal Verma. I'm talking about 1995, when he didn't look the way he looks now. Nobody could have associated. He looked like an intellectual and a scholar. And he stood in a corner quietly with his hands folded. And I thought, wow, if this is a kind of a man who can have the vision that we are seeing in Rangila, the contrast is so interesting. And he is listening to me just now like he does not know the story. Anyway, so that was my journey with Ram Gopal Verma. And recently, when I went to meet him, and I said, he said something to me. And I said, of course, we are friends. And he said, no, we are not friends. I just like you. I said, okay. When Enlighten Films decided to have the Godfather Film Festival.
Can I just interrupt for a second? I'll tell you the other side. Basically, I hate the censor board, you know. So when
I'm not a part of it anymore.
So when I walked in, my hands folding has nothing to do with to be very respectful and subservient because I don't trust myself not to hit them. So I just want to make that clear.
That I know. That we all know. And he was standing in almost rebellious body posture. But folded hands was just a upar se dikhane ki baat. Anyway, when Enlighten Films decided to hold this Godfather Festival, there was no doubt in my mind or Jimmy and Pranav's mind that it had to be Ram Gopal Verma as the chief guest. But there was a small snag. Anybody who has associated with Ram Gopal Verma as a media or as a cinema person knows that he is almost difficult to get him anywhere. He is capable of not turning up for his own party, for his own trial show. He is invisible most of the time. Even if one has to do interviews or one has to communicate with him, he only communicates with you via text messages. So to make him agree to come before a film release for any function was almost a Herculean task. But Ram Gopal is also extremely unpredictable. So when I spoke to him about the Film Society and the good work it does, he agreed because I told him there would be students, there will be cinema students and film buffs. When I was looking at his, thank you, that was a little
Before you clap, one second, please stop clapping. I just want to make it very clear, it's not so much about film students or film buffs. I came here for one and only reason, that's my love for Godfather.
He has dedicated Sarkar to Godfather, and today you are going to hear him discuss that. And also, I was just going through his filmography, but I think before we discuss about all the movies that you made on the underworld, maybe you can just talk about your reflections on Godfather, the influence it had on you, and also subsequently about what led to Sarkar.
I think to start with, Godfather, I don't think first of all it's an underworld film, in sense of the technical understanding of an underworld, people resorting to violence or doing illegal crime or whatever. If you read the book or read the film, it doesn't really ever say about what they're doing. It's eventually about the politics inside an organization, which could have a reference point in a political family or a feudalistic family like Sarkar. I think it is the relationships between the people and the hierarchical differences between the way they're placed and positioned. And first, when you heard of the Godfather, I don't think anyone ever heard of the word mafia or Cosa Nostra, or the way it was known at that point of time. But it had a resonance across the world because you could eventually connect to, there could be a man like this. There is some guy called Thakur in some UP who can have a Godfather kind of a structure in his organization or a family. So I think it's that. See, strangely for me, Godfather came to me when I was in my senior intermediate in Hyderabad. A guy came in, one of my classmates, he came and gave me this book, Godfather, and said there's a very explicit sexual scene in page number 26. That was my introduction to Godfather. And obviously after I read that, I read the rest of the book, and I couldn't imagine how that book would have influenced and impacted my life. It's not just that Sarkar is an adaptation of Godfather. Every film of mine, irrespective of the genre, whether it's a love story or including a horror film, I would like to say, there's some element of Godfather will be there. Could be in a character or an understanding of a certain emotion or a sequence or anything like that, So more or less, like in case of Sarkar, I think the difference is if in Don Corleone and Godfather, if he was an illegal businessman who was trying to use the loopholes in the law, probably to do his criminal activities and whatever he wants to do, whereas Sarkar does it openly. So that I think is the primary difference between the two films. So whether it is a Satya or a company, or Dehi, again my earlier film, my first film Shiva also had shades of that. But I think Sarkar would be the first film where more or less the adaptation of it went to a very large extent, like in terms of the plot line or the... But the primary difference is in Sarkar, I took the tone of the novel more than the film. Because the novel had a much more stronger intensity than the film. Yeah.
Usually when you like a particular film very much, or the director very much, and you want to make a kind of a similar film, you tend to go wrong, somehow. In this film, it was not just you who adored Godfather, but also Mr. Bachchan. So there were two people who loved the film and who were making a kind of a similar movie. I'm not even using the word adaptation. How did you all constantly check yourselves or warn each other that we should not become a copy of the film? Or what were the guidelines that you all had defined as ground rules?
See, frankly, we never had the discussion at all. See, because once I told him the way I'm seeing the film and how I want to adapt the basic plot line, if I imagine a character like that exists in Bombay in today's time period, and if there's a man like Balasaheb Thackeray, there can be a Subhash Nagre. So beyond that, like I said earlier, then after that it's just a plot line, except for the fact that there is him and there is sons, and somebody wants to kill him, and it's got a bad son, which is an age-old thing. which eventually is taken from Godfather to start with. But in the course of making the film, neither me nor him never referred back to Godfather of his character or the film as such.
Before the release of the film, Sarkar, I had interviewed Mr. Bachchan and I had asked him when does the actor change from his body language to the characters. And he said that the first day of the shooting, when that lungi black kurta arrived in his room, he wears his costume, then the man makes his makeup and the hair. And he says that when I walk out of my room, the cabin, the van, it's the people around him, the way they greet him, and the way they keep the distance that makes him get into the character. For you, is that the first time, or have you already imagined him? Do you do a test shoot? How is it?
See, no matter how much you prepare as a filmmaker about what the character is, and it's only on the set. See, for me, if for Amit it was that, for me, when I shot his introduction scene, I told him, you never played an old man. You looked old,
Nice.
in other films. Playing old is basically at the speed you get up from your chair,
Very nice.
or the speed you get down. When you get up, Amit, you want to feel that you have romantic pains in your knees. That's what we should space the getting up. Or at what speed it turns his head to look at someone. That for me is where I caught the character. Because a man is so much into himself. Where more or less most normal people, they would conform to the standards of society in terms of how you should behave, how you should give attention to somebody, or saying hello, good morning, how are you, please sit down, and all that. A man is very powerful, will be in his own space. He will take his own time. It's almost like he's irrelevant to what others might feel or think about what he's doing and how he's behaving. So once you internalize that, automatically everything else would fall in place.
That's a fantastic instruction from a director because it's about the reflexes. I would say that the acid test was not so much Sarkar as Sarkar Raj, because the first time you gave Sarkar and it worked, and a lot of people like so many of the older generation who have not perhaps seen Godfather, for them Sarkar is working in the same magic. How do you think Sarkar Raj comes up to your expectations?
See, that's a difficult question to answer. See, if you look at the complexity of a plot line, I think Sarkar Raj is a far superior film. But Sarkar has already set the tone for that. It's very simplistic, very almost fairy tale in its plot. Sarkar, like I said, it's just a revenge story of someone wanting to hurt his father, and the young son tries to take revenge. But whereas in Sarkar Raj, I think is very complex in storytelling and in every which way. So I personally, for me, it's a far superior film. But if somebody likes Sarkar more, I can understand. That is the reason why. Like I said, any fairy tale plot line tends to reach the audiences much more than complex plot lines.
You made us believe that Sarkar Raj Part 3 would be coming soon because the last scene prepares us for a third part. And then time has gone by, so many movies have come, but there is no sign of Sarkar.
See, I never said I'm going to make
We
Sarkar.
assumed.
Yeah, but you can't blame me for that.
No, but was there a reason? I mean, it seemed to me the most logical conclusion when there are 3 Godfathers, you had to make 3 Sarkars. And we were all prepared, the actors were ready. So?
See, I personally think Sarkar Raj third part will be on a decline, because the first part, the attempt on Amici, and the son won. And second part, the son died. Now third part, except for killing Sarkar, nothing else I can do. But that will be too predictable.
I think it has got more to do with you rather than working it out because you just follow your instinct, change your mind, then you stop making one movie, then suddenly you make a next movie, because it's something that you are enjoying terribly.
No, that's fine. But I think even in natural prowess of Sarkar, I feel it will definitely be much lesser than the two. I mean, no matter what I do, because you also get used to that look. You know, there's nothing shock value anymore, because you know more or less the atmosphere, everything. And if Abhishek is not there, and Amitabh Bachchan is also on a decline in terms of what he can't be hitting more people. Now he won't come out himself. And in fact, one person had suggested Sarkara's story to me
For part 3.
for part 3. Apparently,
And what is that story?
yeah, I'm telling you, Amitabh Bachchan realizes that the main villain actually Aishwarya Rai.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, so now he figures this out, that she was the person behind Rise Up. And now she's gone back, and now she got her father killed, and now she's ruling an empire. Once he finds out, Sarkar lands up in London. So
It's a comedy.
when he comes out of the Heathrow airport, putting his things up, that's the interval point. So I didn't dare to listen to the second half.
No, but the interesting thing is that these kind of people, are they having access to Ram Gopal Verma, who are telling him the story of Sarkar Raj 3 and where the interval point comes? Come on, what you guys doing? You all should all be making movies by now. I was just going through your filmography, and I have an interesting observation. Let me see if I've got the things right. In just 20 years, no, Ram Gopal Verma is the most productive and also the most prolific filmmaker Hindi cinema has, probably Indian cinema has, counting his Telugu and other films. He has produced 43 films, directed 37 films, and written 13 films. Out of total 53 films, 11 delve on the underworld. So what is this attraction for the underworld? Are they attracted to you or are you attracted to them?
I mean, deep inside, I want to be a gangster. And because I don't have the guts, I became a filmmaker instead.
Fantastic.
So I think I want to alternate between wanting to be a gangster or a ghost.
That's why he makes horror films. Actually, the list of his gangster movies is the highest. Second comes the horror films. And then he pretends that actually he's making films on relationships, which is Nishab. No, but you had said to me in one of my early interviews that when you make a film, and if it doesn't work out right to your standards or estimate, then you are not content until you go on making that film and putting it right. Is that why you made Shiva again?
Most of my films, actually, see, like when Dehi didn't work, like when Rag didn't work, I made Bhoot. When Dehi didn't work, I made Satya. Eventually, film is an idea. And from an idea, you make a certain screenplay and you make the film. And when it fails at the box office, or people don't like it, or whatever, when you go back to analyze the cause, and if I feel that I've understood why it didn't work, and I try it again. And many times it doesn't work second time also. So I'll keep on making it till I die. You know?
But looking back,
So you have no choice but to bear with me.
but looking back, would you say Shiva 1 was better or 2?
I think they'll beat me up if I say.
No, you please say.
No, you see, again, the point is.
A lot of people
it's
actually
not-
didn't see Shiva 1, the launch of Sunil Shetty. Let's just take a vote. How
Sunil
many of you
Shetty?
have seen
Hello.
Shiva? Acha, apna.
Nagarjuna,
Yeah.
sorry.
How many people have seen Shiva? Wow.
Okay.
How many people have seen all the movies of Ram Gopal Verma? He's saying thanks.
Obviously, so you are not the general audience. See, to answer this question about Shiva, see the point is, eventually film is like a conversation. Where I'm not trying to be defensive, but the truth is that I never ever took a film seriously. I just have fun with the medium. That's the reason I became a director, and that is also the reason I make so many films, because I do nothing but making films. So beyond, there is certain film I would take it very seriously, something which I would just on a spur of the moment I think, what if I convert the college background of Shiva into a police background and do it? It is just like a thought. Beyond that, I didn't think about it. I'm not seeing it as a difference, like I said. I can do something as stupid as that also. That's what I'm trying to say. Or maybe I'll take up a subject which I have no idea, or I try to understand and learn about it in the making, which is how Satya happened. So it's not necessary that I'm very passionate about it and that's the reason a good film happened. Or it could be I'm very callous and a very good film also can happen. Like I took very seriously only one film in my entire career, and that is Aag. So the moral of the story is don't take things seriously.
Moral of the story is don't play with fire. You see, when you look at the 11 films he made on the underworld, the interesting thing is that though it deals with the underbelly of the society, it is showing different colors and different hues. So, for instance, if Drohi and Satya deal with the romantic hero in a way, because it tells you also about the love life of the hero. Again, if you look at Satya, though Bhikhu, Manoj Bajpayee's character is the more interesting one. Chakrabarti is interesting because he fights with his mind. Every time you did a film on the underworld, it was in a way a step ahead or a turning point, saying something new, like Company. I remember coming to your office when you were doing the promotion material of the film, and you said you dealt with it like a business Kalyug film of Shashi Kapoor, Shyam Benegal's movie, because Kalyug talked about the business empire and a family, and this talks about a business company which is dealing with the underworld, the D company. So can you tell us a little more how you choose? Because see, there were so many stories in the media about you meet these people in real life, you go to their places. Up tak Chappan, we were told that the police department was upset with you. I want to know really who do you meet before you start a film? What are your interactions? How do you base your characters on these guys? Because these are just fantasies for us. We are just fantasizing and making our own stories. You all want to know, right?
Well, to start with, I swear on my man I never met a gangster. That's about a joke. Okay. Anyway, see, the point is when people keep asking you over the years that, including police officers have asked me this question, that how could you get so much of insights to details about the underworld? But if you really look at what I made, there's nothing in them which the media doesn't tell already. This as far as the technical details are concerned. Now when someone says Satya is a very realistic film, how does he know that it is very real? I might have met gangsters, I might know what they are about, but the person who's watching who's never met a gangster, how does he know it is real? So the point is, they're actually connecting to the character. Like when Bhikkhu Matre comes home, and his wife is very upset with him for coming late, that is something everyone would experience. Because of that, they think it's real. And when the same man goes out and shoots somebody in the head, the connection to the reality happens there. And the fact that, if, like for instance, there is a scene in Satya where this guy is in the lockup and this inspector comes and he puts his hand on his swollen ankle, just squeezes it lightly, and that pain which it shows, and I remember in the theater people used to gasp. That's because in other films when they show a policeman hitting with a lathi or putting some electric current to torture, nobody knows how it actually feels, an electric current shock or a lathi hit. But every one of us would have had some kind of a swelling in the foot, and when something touches, the pain shoots up. So I am trying to recreate that emotion through it. On Rangila, when Amir puts his leg on the chair in front, and when the guy says, "Pair nikal, pair dekh raha hai, picture dekh raha hai." Now that is something that every one of us would have gone through at some point, and we never really understood why somebody should have such a big problem. It's just a programmed thing to react to something like that. So coming back to the realism, as long as the characters, like if Bhikkhu Matre could have been an engineer, Satya could have been some other profession, whoever else could have been another. So you are connecting to the human emotion in the characters. It's not so much about, if you really look at it, I haven't shown anything in Satya which is technically correct. In fact, Satya is a very unrealistic film if you really look at what exactly Underworld does. It came at 98 and it is talking about Bhikkhu Matre was the #1 gangster. Why is he living in a chawl? All the gangsters we know, they live in mansions in Dubai and all those places. So I don't think anything in Satya is real. But because people don't know, they took reality as the way I gave them. So it's not necessary that you need to have underworld contacts or to understand inside details to meet them. It's not about that.
I don't think I agree with everything you say, but I agree
So
partly.
you think you have contacts?
No. I'm sure you have contacts to do the encounter specialist, how he does it, like in Ab Tak Chappan, because getting inside a police station and seeing that should be much easier than getting into underworld.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, I do have contacts there, yeah.
Good. No, also to make a point there that, none of us have been, we don't know what a courtesan's home looks like or what a brothel looks like, but we see it in movies and we feel this looks authentic and this does not look authentic because it all depends on what touches your heart. We've not been to see the tulip gardens in Amsterdam, but when they put plastic flowers and they say, "Dekha ek khwab to," we know that this is not the real tulip garden. So now you can tell us about, it's a joke. Like you said, it's a joke, the earlier one. You can tell us about Ab Tak Chappan, because for a change, it was the cop who was the hero. And a very unconventional hero, Nana Patekar.
You see, Ab Tak Chappan basically, as a thought came to me when, in the course of researching for Satya, when the cops I met or various people I met, including crime reporters or people who are kind of middle agents, they're not exactly gangsters, but they would have a first-hand connection with them. And like you can call them front organizations or people like that. There's so many stories I heard. Obviously, I can't cram all of them into Satya. So all the subsequent films came as offshoots of various things I heard here and there, out of which, like if you take one character of an encounter cop who gave me some information, if I get into his story, you get me Ab Tak Chappan from there. Or I met one gentleman one day, his name is Hanif. He was shot dead just about a couple of years back, maybe a little more, I forgot, One day I just met him at the producer's house, and he was telling me, this guy told me he knows Dawood and Chota Rajan very well. So when I spoke to him, he just said this one line, और दोनों के बीच में इतना नफरत है और इतने लोग मर गए लड़ाई में, लेकिन आज भी दाऊद भाई फोन करता है, छोटा आदमी सिगरेट पीता है तो छोड़ देगा, उतना रेस्पेक्ट करता है. प्यार इसलिए, नफरत इसलिए कर दे क्योंकि प्यार करते हैं. He said the whole company is based on this line. Yeah?
Fabulous.
And this was just told to me by this guy who was one of the accused in the serial blast case, and he was shot down in Tawa restaurant, remember a few years back.
Hanif Lakdawala.
Hanif Lakdawala, yeah. So it is one line like that is enough to trigger off an entire story. So you suddenly understand the characters, not that Dawood Ibrahim and Chota Rajan exactly like what I showed Malik and Chandu and company. That's not the truth. But you're getting to the emotional core of what the relationship is about. They might speak in a different language. The incidents could be different. But the spirit of it will remain the same. Because of that, and after that, all the scene sequences were made up. They're nothing in reality. But once, on some context, Chota Rajan called me up.
Okay.
Yeah. And he was raving about company. And he thinks he's Chandu. Now that is incredible. Because no, see, I thought when they see the film and they know it is not real, they would think that I'm just making fools of people saying that it is real. But he felt it was him. Which means he also caught to the spirit. It's not so much about the incidents and scenes.
Since we are talking about company, in an interview done with Ajay Devgan, he had told me that actually he was not the first choice for the hero, but you had gone to meet him to narrate some other film. And then it was in the manner he had reacted that later on you rang him up again and you said you wanted to take him in the role of the role he did. Is that how? No? Okay. Maybe he told me in some other context. It does not matter. Okay. Before I throw open questions for the audience, I'm just going to finish the last bit with him, where I'll talk to him about the two most controversial films in recent past, which is Aag and Nishabt. You just explained to us how Company was born, that it was a small conversation with a certain person that triggered off an idea. So what triggered off the idea for Aag and also for Nishabt?
About 6 years back, I got a call from this man called Shasha Sippy, who is a grandson of JPCP. So my grandfather wants to meet you. So, for what? No, he just wants to discuss something with you. So I thought, he's such a big producer of Sholay and respected man and old timer, so I should go. And I went to the town. And there I realized Sasha Sippy, his grandson, had this idea of making a sequel to Sholay. And he wanted to launch some kind of a scheme where to tell the public to pay 500 rupees each for a application, and who is going to play this role and that role and that role, and make a huge amount of money. And he wanted me to be part of it because he thought I might give certain credibility because of my reputation with the newcomers or whatever it is. So basically it was a sham, at least from my perspective. And we also had a story for that. Yeah, Sasha already made a story. So his story of sequel of Sholay was after.
I think please switch off your mobiles. This should not be told to you again and again.
After Mehbooba's song, Gabbar Singh slept with Helen. Okay. And obviously Helen became pregnant and Junior Gabbar is born. Oh. And now the problem is either the characters died in the film, like Amitabh Bachchan's character died. Yeah, Jay died. Or the actors in real have died, like Thakur is dead, Sanjay Kumar has passed away. So the only people left are the Dharanji and Basanti and Junior Gabbar anyway. So now Veeru and Basanti are married. They had two children, now which they knew a lot of actors. And when they both go to visit Jayaji and Ramgarh, they are kidnapped by Junior Gabbar as a revenge for the father. Now these two boys the sons of Dharmendra and Basanti, they have a friend, a Chinese friend, and he wants to cast Jackie Chan. And his idea is basically, if Russia's can be such a big hit, and Sholay is the biggest brand, so we can conquer the Chinese market also. This is the whole proposal he gave me.
And you sat there silently listening to this?
Obviously, yeah. And then I realized, okay, whatever I had to say, and I thought it was going insane. And after 6 years, I did something more than him. That's a different matter. But so as I was coming back, I mean, it's a very interesting analysis of how a film can be made. Now there's a 2-hour journey from town to come back to my place. So 2 hours, there's nothing for me to do. So I started wondering what can be done with Sholay actually. Now the fact that somebody erased that incident, what if we urbanize it and just imagine that the same story happens in a city, is what the start of the idea was. I thought it was interesting. Then when I met some industry people, actors and those, I started interpreting, instead of kitne aadmi the, what if he says kitne? Why would he say kitne aadmi the? That's a very rural way of saying. He just says kitne, certainly. So one line by one line, people started reacting so much to it. It's fantastic, outstanding, and possibly it might have worked in the space of that 1 minute. Then the biggest problem which happened is when a designer, a poster designer, he came because he heard that I was planning to make Sholay, and he showed me one poster of what he designed with Amitabh Bachchan as Gabbar. Now, my idea was to make it very realistic, almost in the space of a Satya or a company, just to think of that as a plot and see if one police officer has been disabled and if he gives a job to 2 ex-gangsters, to take revenge on what they've done to the family. You take that as a plot and really believe it's happening in present time, and take off all the other characters out. Now when he showed me, it was nothing. 7 people were sitting with me, and all of them were mind-blowing, fantastic, they said. Now obviously, see, they're reacting to Amitabh Bachchan being looking different. Only I know what I'm planning. So I said, but it doesn't look real at all. And that guy said, but Ramji, Gabbar is a legend. He was a normal person at that time. He's a legend in people's minds. You can't treat him normally. So just based on the reactions of those 7 people and the way this guy said, I was in a doubt. I took that and went to Anuji. And Anuji also has no idea what I was planning to do. He just trusts me as a director. Sanjay was fantastic, he said. So Anuji also thinks it's fantastic. Now obviously Anuji would be thinking that Ramu must be knowing what he's doing. He's reacting to that. So a trigger basically caused by Mr. Shasha Sippy, the great man, and even greater man is me in the journey of that. And by default this commercial designer, poster designer. So I tried to match the rest of the film to the poster after that. I know it sounds stupid. I mean, it is stupid. It's not that it sounds stupid. So but that is an exercise in for you guys to understand how an idea originates and finally when it reaches its final destination, what all can happen. This is just like one trailer. If I have to talk about I can talk for 1 day.
It sounds scary that next time you should not be surrounded by 7 people who say fantastic